Remember, these questions can be a little time consuming because there's 2 passages instead of 1. But, if you want to skip them and save them for last, that's totally fine. But they're not necessarily harder than other passages. The only thing I don't like is that, they take more time. Now, one thing I like to do when they ask this specific kind of question, how would the ecologist in text 2 most likely respond to the author's conclusion in text 1, I like to read the passages in reverse order. That way I can kind of figure out what text 2 believes, so that when I'm reading text 1, I kind of already know how they might respond, right? I already have their idea in my own head. You don't have to do that. I don't think that's a big deal of a strategy, but I'm going to do it here just to show you how it works. So text 2, ecologist Juan Amat has found that flamingos apply a kind of makeup to make themselves appear pinker. A gland near their tail contains pigments that come from the food they eat. When the flamingos groom themselves using the pigments, their feathers become pinker. Flamingos may do this to improve their success during mating season, when they would benefit from looking pinker. So I don't really know what to get from that, other than they make themselves pinker. And I don't think I've ever in my 36 years of life on this planet had ever heard the word pinker before. Redder, bluer, not pinker, but there you go. First time for everything. All right, text 1, let's see what they say. Flamingos are known for their vibrant pink coloring, but they're actually born with gray feathers. Their pink color comes from eating brine shrimp, but brine shrimp aren't naturally pink either. Animals can produce carotenoids, the pigments that provide the pink hue. The algae that brine shrimp feed on, however, can produce these pigments. Thus, the pinker the flamingo, the more shrimp it has eaten. Okay, so maybe they would disagree about why they're pink, right? Is it about the shrimp? Or what did this one say? The grooming, right? Did they do it themselves, or is it just through what they eat? I don't know. Let's see. I don't know where this is really going. Okay. So the author's conclusion, is the more shrimp, the pinker it is. Okay. By emphasizing that flamingos' tail feathers are pinker than their other feathers are, I don't think it's about the different types of feathers, right? This is making a comparison, but is it the right comparison? It's not comparing the different ways that they become pink. It's comparing different types of feathers. I don't think that that's what they were going for. B, by claiming that the coloring of flamingos' feathers doesn't change significantly enough for most observers to notice. So there you go. That word most really scares me anytime I see it in a choice. Are we talking about a lot of observers? We're talking about most observers? That's 51% or more of observers? I don't think so. They're not quantifying things like that. So that kind of word scares me. And the passages aren't doing that. So plus, flamingos are pink, right? That's the whole point of these passages. We know that they're pink. By pointing out that the amount of shrimp eaten isn't the only thing that influences the flamingo's coloring. So here's what I would do here. Notice what they're leaving out. They're leaving out other things that influence the coloring, but we can turn this into a question. If passage 2 would believe this, then what is another thing that influences the coloring? Okay, it's the way they groom themselves. Right? See how I can turn the choice into a question, and then the answer to that question is really easy for me to find in the passage? That's a really good sign that that's the right answer. But let's look at D. By arguing that flamingo's diet doesn't include much shrimp except during mating season. No, the diet wasn't really talked about in section 2, in passage 2, right? They talk about the gland, they talk about the food, I guess, but they don't really get into shrimp, right? I don't even think that word is mentioned. So it's not really about the specific things that they eat. That's really what text 1 is about. So we would need to know more in order to make D fit. Whereas C, like I said, I was able to ask a very simple question. The choice is kind of leaving something out, and I really want to know what that something is. But then when I ask the question, I can go right to the passage, point to a line, and just be like, here's the answer. Great sign that that's the right answer, not just for these double text questions, but for really any passage question. That ability to turn choice into a question is really, really useful.